Hello, folks. It's Tuesday, meaning it's time for us to hang out again as we like to do on a bi-weekly basis. We have an overcast, otherwise pretty pleasant June 10th, 2025 here in Germany. Summer is not quite there, but by the end of the week, 30 degrees are expected here, so we're working on it. As usual, my name is Tudor Vodov, and I'm back with the 54th episode of Keeping It Realistic. Now, the course of today's episode will be a bit different than usual. What doesn't change is how the show is done in collaboration with Chaos, and that we will start with the news section, take a look at some recent events in and around our community. After that, we will review 3 work in progress projects. Then, however, what we will do, it will be something new, something more experimental. We will fuse the first discussion topics, because today we do have 2 discussion topics, with some inspiring works of yours from the last 2 weeks. And then in the final phase of the show, we will discuss the second topic, which is connected to the first one. And I will take you on a very unfiltered journey on the conception and creation of a simple yet really impactful scene. And in hopes that this will, how should I put it, inspire you and motivate you to eventually diversify your portfolio and don't think too much before starting something new. And remember, we do this as a live session so that you can actively participate in all discussions, interact with myself, interact with each other. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, voice your opinion, share thoughts, and everything that's on your mind. And generally, just be active, please. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. I see you guys. I see Abdi. I see Danushka. It's awesome that you're here, folks. Today's session is going to be a long one, but it also is going to be packed with really good, exciting, and stuff that you cannot really find tutorials on otherwise. So no matter if you're watching now live with me or if you're watching the recording later, this is one of the sessions where I recommend actually paying attention and actually watching instead of just listening to it, as I think many of you tend to do. Use this as a podcast or watch the show as a podcast, which is absolutely a great way to enjoy it and just take a peek when you hear something which gets your attention. However, today we're going to be showing a lot of things, so it would be better if you could actually focus more on what's shown here, especially when we discuss the first and the second topic. So yeah, it's going to be a lengthy session and a wild ride. So I don't want to waste any more time. I see Amit join us, Simon. It's awesome to have you here, guys. Without any further ado, let's just start. And even though we don't have so much time, I think we shouldn't be breaking traditions, and we should still start as we always do by taking a moment to appreciate today's cover image. The works for it were contributed by Ylli, Molham, and Hankyo. Congrats to all 3 artists. These are really quality images. They look really nice together as a composition. And once we start discussing today's topics, you will get why I chose exactly those works to talk about. Now, we also have a second image to enjoy. Since last September, we have your works that you choose grace the cover of our community. And in this particular case, the one that you voted as best from the previous 2 weeks has been Muhadi's work. I probably butcher her name, but this is the work that you chose. Let me show it to you. And honestly, this is a really, really great pick. First of all, it's a really unique situation that we see depicted here, very down to earth, but really cozy and welcoming. We're used to those massive kitchen islands with bar stools, with the huge dining tables where everything is perfectly arranged, and suddenly we have this kind of smallish table in one corner of the kitchen. It looks like there was space there, so people decided to use it, place the table, place 3 chairs by it, and suddenly had the small dining situation, which I think is incredibly sweet. But it's also great execution with really beautiful, nice, warm color scheme, atmospheric lighting. And if you ask me, this could easily be a shot from an IKEA catalog. So congrats, Mohatis, and congrats to all of you for this really, really good choice. Really enjoyed this one, and it makes for a great cover of our community. Now let's talk about some recent events from in and around our group from recent times. We'll start off with the Escape birthday live stream from the end of May, which was really unique show. I was there, but I was in the back as a producer. We weren't able to see me, but I was also partially a part of all this. And honestly, my absolutely honest opinion, it was a great panel and it was also a great mood. Very, very similar to the Corona birthday celebration, I would say, because people were just very honest, very, very down to earth and laid back, and just hanging out and talking about their love for Escape and their experiences with it. And it was really a pleasure to be there. And also, it was very interesting to see their points of view from the more technical side of architecture and visualization. And in case you missed it, definitely go and check it out. The recording is available in the group as a recording for a period of time. Oh, I see Leslie joined us. Hello, man. Nice to have you here. Next, we have another live event from this community. It is the Portfolio Mondays episode 2, which happened in the beginning of June. It was, let's say, the first actual episode, because the first episode 1, was more or less Pedro introducing himself, which was a great idea. But this was now the first time with episode 2 that some actual reviewing was done, and Pedro also had his guest, which who in this case was Felipe Breuring from Binyan, and they reviewed altogether 3 portfolios from Diogo, from Simon, and from Amir. And I personally enjoyed the hell out of it because it was very helpful. It was very educational. They shared some great tips and great know-how, especially, the things that Felipe said as somebody who is actually reviewing portfolios by Binyan. It was very important to hear what he has to say. And honestly, folks, similar to keeping it realistic, I would say and really advise you to watch these episodes of the shows, even if your portfolio isn't the one that's been talked about, because most of the times the principles, the ideas, the know-how in these situations, when it comes to, let's say, creating a good portfolio, they are universal. It doesn't matter if it's your portfolio or somebody else's. If, let's say, Amir's portfolio was very good, but it had too much text in it, and this is, let's say, we can call it an ultimate rule. Nobody wants to read all that text, because people who view portfolios, they don't have the time to go through lengthy texts. So knowing that you should keep your portfolio short is something that you can learn also from the review for Amir's portfolio and not your own. And my personal recommendation for you would be to watch a few episodes of these shows, take notes, or try to remember the good things and the do's and don'ts of creating a portfolio, then create your own portfolio and then send it over, so that what you send is already very, very solid on its own. And when you send it, they can talk about a fine polish rather than like major mistakes. Anyway, the next show is going to be on July 7th, and the applications for it are already open. So if you have a ready-made portfolio, you can send it over. Okay, and then we have a third show, which was, I think, last Thursday, The Future of AI in ArchViz, which was a special live episode from the CG Architect podcast series. They had some technical issues in the beginning. I think the show was supposed to air within the limits of the group, like per Facebook Live, and also on YouTube. It started on YouTube, but somewhere else as people waited or expected it to start. But in the end, it was a really, really great show. And it was very, very interesting to see the point of view of these 3 very different people, because their approach and their work with AI is vastly different. We have Ricardo, being the manager of CG Architect, who uses AI more for, research, for publicity, like creating background images for his articles and stuff like this. And of course, as an artist for AI enhancement. Then we have Bio Allen, the president of Evolve Lab, who uses AI as a base for the product his company develops and sells. So the better the AI, the better for him. And then, of course, we have also Nikos, being a mentor and artist who uses AI for reference and mood board creation, for client communication, for concept development, for render enhancement. He also has a course on AI. So getting all of those different points of view was very, very interesting to see. So in case you missed this episode, you can find it on YouTube on the CG Architect channel. Check it out. And now, by the way, we'll talk about this, the future of AI, about this session. We'll talk about it later in the show when we start discussing the first topic for the day. But now let's talk a bit about communities first. So first we have the school 3D artists community. We have a lengthy and very detailed post and invitation also to the community by Amit. If you scroll down here, you get a link where you can go into the group. And this is a really, really nice community. Actually, it is in its core, it's pretty similar to ours because it's very tight knit. It's very support and member oriented. It's not just another online render gallery or something like this. And Amit and some others from our community here are already a part of the school community and have been for a while now. And I am too. At some point, I joined in order to watch and support Simon, who had a presentation there. And, I see we have some drops. You still hear me, guys? You still with me here? YouTube is showing us that we have some issues with the stream, but it seems to be stable. Once again, gladly let me know in the comments if you're still able to hear me, see me, and follow what I'm trying to show you here. So, yeah, you're here and you see me and hear me. Okay, then it's good. Okay, so anyway, this is a very, very pleasant, friendly, and supportive community with a great atmosphere, and I absolutely recommend you to check it out. And of course, shout out to Jake Denham for creating another nurturing harbor for artists out there, because we can really profit from more of these. Abdi says, oh, good here. There are pauses sometimes. It's dropping and coming back. Yeah, I'm sorry for that. It seems like the internet connection isn't that stable. Once again, the fiber cables here in the city, the fiberglass cables, they are still, doing this in the whole city. And unfortunately, from time to time, our internet isn't that stable. I hope that once we have, the new internet, it will be a better and more solid and stable connection, which isn't that dependent on who's building where and things like this. Anyway, we don't want to lose time. I hope you hear. Currently, we don't have a drop. You hear me and you see me, because next I want to show you a small surprise. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you our YouTube channel. Yep, we now have a YouTube channel with a very, very cool logo by Abdi, and also a title image, which I will also be changing every 2 weeks, exactly the same as we do in the group. And on this YouTube channel, you'll be able to find all the Keeping It Realistic episodes, as well as other shows that are exclusive to the group, like the Escape Celebration show, for example. So here you see it's all the episodes. It was necessary to do this because Meta now starts deleting the live session recordings for whatever reasons. Maybe they're running out of space, I don't know, but we need to make sure that our shows and those recordings don't get lost. So here they are, archived and safe. I will upload, of course, the latest episodes with delay, so like maybe 2 weeks after the episode has been aired, so that we keep the exclusivity to the group, so people don't say, oh, you know what, I'll just wait for YouTube. And currently also I really didn't make it that we have a good order. Everything is very, very messy. I wanted the latest video to be at the top and then the oldest to be at the bottom. But as you see, we have episode 1, 3, 2, 39. So it's a mess. I'll work it out. I still haven't. But if you want to watch the episodes in a chronological order, we do have a playlist with all Keeping It Realistic episodes. And there, everything is exactly as it should be. If you take a look here at the side, you'll see episode 40, 53, 52, 51, up until the very first episode 1. So, folks, we now have a YouTube channel. Once again, thank you very much, Abdi, for this really cool, really fitting, very chaos-like logo. I think it's great. It greatly fits the Chaos Campus community. The handle is YouTube at Campus of Chaos, very similar to what we have on Facebook. And you're more than welcome to join, subscribe, and so on. Oh, I see. Wow, YouTube channel, instant subscribe. Amazing. Thanks for the YouTube channel. Wow, it seems you guys are really happy, and I'm happy too, believe me. I'll just try to figure out how to work out this mess down here so that the episodes are nicely and tidily arranged as they should be. And then you can always go back and watch this. And of course, if there is something special, once again, like this Escape live session or something else special, I'll also, which is of course exclusive to the group, I will also make sure to upload it here, and maybe in the end I can make different playlists. I will ask if, for example, Pedro wants me to get his videos and also upload them here. Then we can have a Portfolio Mondays playlist and so on. But I think it's very cool to have this, and yeah, gladly share it. If you now want to share something, now you can do this here. So finally, we have shareable videos, because otherwise, we cannot share out of our enclosed group. Oh, Claudio is here. Claudio, so nice to see you. I hope you're fine, man. We'll be missing you. Gladly reach out on a personal message. Tell me how you are and everything. But it's awesome to have you here, and it's great that you applaud the idea of us having a YouTube channel. Okay, we managed to do the whole intro and news in around 15 minutes, which is so far pretty much according to plan. Now let's move over to some work in progress projects that we'd gladly like to review as next. We'll start off with, let me go here. So yeah, for those who are new, because we always have new people joining the community, which is great. Always a pleasure to let some new great artists in the community, no matter if novice or pros. But for those of you who are new, who watch this for the first time, every Friday, you see such a clay render with this red stamp on it saying work in progress time. And this is the sign for our initiative, which encourages you to share the current state of your work and then ask questions about it. So if you're not sure about something, if you want to improve on it or something like this, just share your work, describe it, and ask something specific, and then the community will be there to help you. We do this every Friday, and now the Friday after the show, I usually write down my feedback, and the Friday before the show, so last Friday, I usually take my feedback to the live show so that we can talk about it in front of everyone. And last Friday, we got 3 works that were shared with us asking for feedback, and now it's time to give that feedback to those 3 artists, the names of whom all start with S. Just a coincidence. Hamid says, let's keep the show videos and other shows videos as playlist and not everything in one go. Hope that's possible. Let's keep the show videos and other show videos as a playlist and not everything in one go. Yeah, there is also the option to have the videos be unlisted, meaning that people won't randomly find them and only have, let's say, the playlist being public and listed. So yeah, we'll figure this out. I'm new to YouTube, so if some of you have more experience in this regard, then please reach out to me and tell me how I can make the videos have the correct order, because this is really getting on my nerves. But other than that, it actually works very nice. Mike, nice to have you. And you are somebody who's good at YouTube. Maybe you can help me with the order of the videos. But yeah, thanks for subscribing to all of you. It's awesome. And I hope that our YouTube channel will also start growing like the group does. Okay, now let's do some reviewing. We'll start off with Simon, who writes, already work in progress Friday. Feels like yesterday I posted my last work in progress. Anyway, as I am the spammer of Fridays, here we go again. You're not the spammer, actually. You're a pragmatic artist who knows how to make the most out of what is provided to you. There is this initiative so that people get feedback and you just make the most use out of it. There is nothing here about spamming. It's about being smart, if you ask me. Anyway, let's continue. This time, a project from the USA. Not even close to what I'm used to do in my country, but still so enjoyable. I would say that the images are almost finalized, although I am waiting for the developers and the architects to decide. So this is my opportunity to hear from you guys. All feedback and criticism is welcome. It's made in Rhino, V-Ray, Photoshop, and Magnific AI. Still finding it difficult when clients are always giving me new Rhino models to work with in Max. Anyways, for now, I can work with both modeling software and both render engines till I decide what is best. Happy weekend, folks. I didn't quite understand. So this project is done in Rhino with V-Ray, but clients also give you Rhino models and ask you to do them in Max, or I didn't quite get the final part here. And other than that, of course, it's great that you're actually capable to use both, like Rhino and V-Ray, and then also Max and Corona. This gives you many, many opportunities. As I already told you in the beginning, after starting after using Rhino and Mac and V-Ray for 7 years in the beginning of my career, I decided to switch over to Max and Corona. This is where I get to know Mike because I went to Viz Academy for that. And afterwards, I tried to work with both, because I was still way more sure and way more at home within the limits of Rhino. I would try to do my modeling and stuff in Rhino and then export to Max and then do the texturing and sets and population in Max. And honestly, after a few projects, I just decided that this is not the way I want to go in the long term. And this is why I just decided to stay and do everything directly in Max. Some modeling and then scene population, texturing, mapping, all of this. And this is where I more or less abandoned Rhino, even though I very, very much love this software. But this was just a quicker and more pragmatic solution for me in the end. So yeah, this is gladly explain, dear Simon, what you're doing here. Is this a Rhino and V-Ray work? Because if it is, if we take a look at the images and go through them once, you see that this is an amazing looking image. And if this is actually done in Rhino with V-Ray, I should say this is one of the best Rhino and V-Ray visualizations I've seen. So yeah. Mike says good is an overstatement, but sure I am. Oh, Mike, don't be so modest. You've been doing webinars, live sessions, and whatnot on YouTube for years now. You have more than 100,000 followers, so I'm sure you'll be able to show me around. If you wish, I'll be really thankful. Mike says, literally most talented student I've ever had. Pleasure to help. Oh. Okay, if you see me get red, it's not because it's warm outside. It's because of the comments of Mike. But no, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure getting this course and really helped me quickly switch from, because after 7 years I already had a client base, I already had people I work with, so I couldn't just start figuring it out slowly transitioning from Rhino to Max. I needed to transition from one moment to the other, so it was necessary to have something like the Viz Academy course. So yeah, thank you back. Anyway, let's see what Simon has to say. Yes, all from this project are made in Rhino. I just recently tried to move into Max, but again, my clients are using Rhino and they make their amended models in Rhino. So I don't know if this is easier to again export and import in Max the new model. Well, yeah, I mean, if you already have the ability and the skills to create such amazing visuals in Rhino with V-Ray, I don't see any reason for you to move over to Max and Corona. Maybe you can do new projects, like things you start from scratch in Max and Corona, so that you also become very proficient in that as well, because this opens you doors also for studios and whatnot. But if you already are capable of doing this in Rhino with V-Ray, then I don't see any reason for you to move to something else. Mariana says, we discussed the Rhino and 3ds Max with Simon some weeks ago. Simon says, for this and for other projects, I just use some 3D sky models and import them to VR Scene or FBX and then redo the materials. Okay, that's really nice. Okay, let's talk about your work then. So first of all, your description was great. Really helps better understand the project. And then we have, after going through the images once, we have the modeling. Looks very nice. I don't know how much of this has been provided to you by the clients, but I mean, if it works, if they give you a model that you can immediately work with, then it's absolutely amazing. But whatever it is, it's not only the building itself, it's also the surroundings. Both have a great amount of detail, look very nice. Same goes for the texturing and the materials, really authentic, really realistic looking. The major quality for me in your work, however, is the locational depiction. It's really spot on. You see, we have a muscle car, but not only the muscle car, we also have the other vehicles that we have are very typical USA vehicles. You say we see the Dodge here and Hummer and whatnot. And then we have the Montana labels, which is a very nice way to show the viewer where we're currently situated. We see a Montana label here. Let me zoom in. We see a Montana label here on the side. So it is easier for people to locate where we are. And also we have some very typical elements that you don't find in, let's say, in Germany. For example, this mix of broadleaf trees and palm trees, and also very typical infrastructural elements such as the sidewalks, the pedestrian crossing, the traffic lights. These are not the European ones. These are the American ones. And it's immediately visible. So we have very, very high local authenticity here. And the second thing that really stands out to me is the lighting. So we have two scenarios, like the sunny scenario, which makes a lot of sense, like in something like Montana. But we also have this very beautiful looking sundown or sunset scenario, which gives a bit of a different vibe to the whole session and makes it more varied and more exciting to look at. And of course, the typical blue sky, once again, very, very, authentic to Montana, looks really cool, typical for the region. And also composition-wise, just take a look at this. The dark foreground, natural framing, and the building being lit up, immediately jumping as focal point as it should be. Very, very well done. So in terms of improvement, I don't really have much. First thing is the empty interiors, because it's not a big deal, because we have a midday sun, so the windows are highly reflective. Still, on some of the shots, like here, for example, it's visible that there is nothing on the inside. And obviously, if you would hint some interiors, this would make the building look more lived in, more relatable, more authentic. Next, we have the AI enhancement, which is generally very nicely done, but on certain parts, just small parts like here, for example, it's kind of over the top, kind of too strong. So maybe just go a bit easier on it. Then we have some buildings which you've left as white volumes, and I understand it because, modeling every building takes a ton of time. What you can do here is eventually go to Google Street View, then cut out just the facade and then map it atop of this volume if you want a bit more realism. But the way I've depicted it, and they are hidden behind trees, I don't think it's a big issue, honestly. And the next thing that I saw, and this is actually my final issue, is that some cars seem to be missing license plates. And you already have a very, very authentic and realistic looking scene. And it's a bit of a pity when something like missing license plates take away realism for it. So make sure that every vehicle that you have has some, generic license plate so that it looks more realistic. But apart from this, all in all, this is really an amazing work in its current state. So if you want to, spend a bit more time on it, hint some interiors, add the license plates and all of this, it will become even better. And I'm sure your portfolio will be very happy about this. Leslie says, these are really nice. Simon says, clients, oh, you're very active here. Clients told me to use some California cars, and I love the Chevy Nova. I also tried to navigate in Street View and the real plot and recreate things such as pedestrian stripes or street names. Yeah, you did an amazing job. It's visible that you really wanted to do to achieve this local authenticity, and you absolutely, definitely did. So yeah, your clients must be really, really happy with this one. Mike says, congrats, Simon, inspiring work. I must run. Thank you for the hard work, Theo. Good luck. Oh, good luck to you, Mike. Thank you very much. Amit says, in the third image, the entrance door has missing handle. Which is the third image? Is this first, second, third? Is this the entrance door? Yeah. Yeah, we have Amit for this, because these are it's the type of detail that I actually don't see anymore. I try to have a bit of a more generalistic view on an image, because over time, I'm somebody who's very much into details. And over time, I know that I've spent time putting in details in scenes where I give them to the client and they don't acknowledge them at all. And at some point, I started viewing renderings with different eyes, meaning that if I see that a scene has a great impact on me the first time I see it and everything looks right to me, I don't really go that much into detail anymore to see if, let's say, a door handle or something is missing, because if there is no major issue, I don't think that most clients will actually register it as well. So, but Amit's right, of course, and yeah, listen to him. Amit says try to enhance the humans using AI. I think that the humans already are enhanced with AI. If we take a look at this woman and the kids and her hair and the shoes and everything, they seem like they have already been enhanced. I think everything is enhanced. Simon is somebody who spends a lot of time enhancing, and has gotten really, really good at it in the meantime. Anyway, great job. Continue with this, and we're looking forward to next Friday and your next work that you're going to share with us. And now it's time for us to continue to the next work in progress, another very interesting one. It's a renovation project by a sheriff. Let's see what he has to say about it. I would like to express my gratitude to this awesome community. Oh, this is how a post should start. To this awesome community. Many thanks to all the members for taking the time to criticize and analyze others' work. With your participation and comments, you enhance the global render quality and efficiency of 3D artists. I feel that by myself. Special thanks to Theodore, Amit, Danushka, Gideon for providing me and others with constructive feedback. Sorry for the long introduction, but I have those feelings, so I wanted to share them with you. There is absolutely nothing to be sorry about, dear Sheriff. It's, first of all, awesome that you took the time to write this down. Thank you very much for that. And let me tell you that it is, I'm speaking in the name of everyone you mentioned and everyone else who shares, including yourself, by the way. This is really, really much appreciated, because the people who give out of their time to help others by providing constructive criticism and feedback, they don't do this, they mostly do this because they want to, because they care. And all they need back is just a simple, hey, thank you, appreciate you, and something like this. This is more than enough to, reignite the fire, because if you just write down feedbacks and so, and people just ignore it or say nothing, at some point it feels like maybe people don't listen to you at all. Who knows? But if people say a simple, hey, thank you, awesome, I'll take it in consideration, this is more than enough. And I'm sure that Amit can confirm this. So yeah, thanks for putting this down and taking the time to say this. It's really, really appreciated. Let's continue. Last week, I shared a small project of an outdoor backyard, and I'm still working on the same project. Today, I will share an unfinished interior of the same project, although there is still a lot of work with modeling, details, and lighting. I sent preliminary shot, which I see from my point of view as promising. Very nice. It was the first time I used the fisheye camera projection, and I was astonished with the good result I got. By the way, this idea of the fisheye shot was inspired by one of the 3D members of the group. I hope you like all the shots, and I'm eager to receive your comments. Happy Friday. Similar to Simon, great description, and once again, thanks for your kind words. And yeah, before we go into this current work, let me, because you mentioned this in your description, let me introduce the work that you mentioned, this courtyard or backyard renders that you already shared the previous week, and I already provided you with feedback. But let's take a quick glimpse in them and see what was great and what not so great about them. So yeah, we have this backyard situation with Hollywood swing and whatnot. And the thing here, it's nicely done when it comes to modeling materials and so on. The issue here, or the main issue here, was the lighting, because you see you have two versions of both angles, and there is always one version which is good and one which is not so good. And here you decided to start with the one which is not that great, and let's see why. So what you have here is a central perspective, and folks, this is one of those things that are very, very universally true. When you have a central perspective, you have all those leading lines, right? You see all the leading lines that lead to something. Imagine it like a tunnel, and in the end of the tunnel, you have the light where the tunnel ends, right? And this is what humans, viewers, are expecting when they see a central perspective. They want to see that those leading lines lead to somewhere, the light at the end of the tunnel. If we take a look at this, however, there is no light in the end of the tunnel, because here we have darkness. If we take a look at the day version, now it works, because we have the leading lines, and they lead the viewer's eye to areas that are nicely lit, that are important, visually important. It's the Hollywood swing, it's the nicely designed back wall, the vertical garden, and whatnot. And then we have the opposite situation where you want to focus more on this light design on the side wall. And here you start with an evening shot, which makes a lot of sense because it shows us how this thing is lit up. But then you do a day shot here where this wall, which is, the focus of this current angle, is left in the shadows, meaning it's not that great. So yeah, here we have two good shots. This is this one and this one, and the lighting was the main issue of this project. Now let's take a look how you did on the interior. So we'll start up with this very first image, and as we see immediately, you see how we have another central perspective, and here we have the light in the end of the tunnel, right? We have the leading lines leading us here, and here is the area which is the most illuminated one, which we see something and it is nicely lit as it should be. So this is very good. Good framing, good lighting composition. And also what I really enjoy about this one is that the space flow is visible. We see the living room, we see the dining and kitchen area, we see the backyard. What's not so great here, you said you still have work to do, but those ceiling holes are currently a bit unexplainable. Are they like part of the design, or you have one spot here in one of the holes? Are all the holes going to be filled with spots, or just some of them? It looks a bit unfinished. And the other thing is, we have this large empty space in front of the glazing, and it looks like there is a dining table which should have been there but is not there yet. Now, in terms of composition, I'm very happy that this dining table, should it be there at all, isn't there yet in the moment, because otherwise you would have too many layers of things behind each other. You have here the table with all the stuff on top of it, you have the dining table, you have the glazing, you have the backyard stuff. That would be too much. So the way it is, it's good, but this area here looks a bit too large to be empty. Just saying. Let's take a look at the second image. In the meantime, I will read Amit's answer. He says, yes, it really feels good if your fellow artist writes a few words of appreciation for the time that you have given them. But above all, we really feel good if the fellow artist listens and doesn't create the same mistake in the project over and over again. Thank you, Sheriff, once again. Exactly. Absolutely agree with this one. We help so that you're helped, so that you get better. So if your work gets better, this is already a great payoff for everyone who provides constructive criticism. But of course, a simple thank you or I appreciate you is, of course, great at top of this as well. Okay, let's continue with the second image. Here we have very nice framing. I really enjoy that you've shown also a bit of this living room, because it once again shows the space continuation. I really like the lighting here as well. It's soft, it's pleasant, natural light coming from the windows. It has a very nice and warm vibe. And just take a look at this down here. You know, the soft light creating some nice shadows. This is so beautiful. I'm a true sucker for lighting situations like this. Really, really love them. And also the natural lighting works very good and mixes very well with the artificial illumination here by the kitchen block. The kitchen itself, very nicely done. The kitchen staging is lovely because the kitchen is currently in use. You see people are already cooking. They're washing some vegetables or fruit by the sink. And you also placed nothing on the island. This is a very, very good decision because once again, if you had placed anything on the island, then you would have had too many layers of things in front of each other, which makes the readability of an image like this really suffer. Now, in terms of improvement, I really like how you decided to, rotate the bar stools around so that they're not like perfectly aligned, which seldomly happens in real life. And the left one is perfect because this is the storytelling one. It looks like somebody was sitting there, then they just turned their chair, stood up, and went their way. The one which is like perfectly aligned, like 90 degrees to the counter, also makes sense. But this one is like too rotated. It's like artificially rotated. It was staged. So what I would say, have the one to the right also be more or less orthogonal or perpendicular to the counter, but maybe just rotated by 5 to 10 degrees, something like this. And then when it comes to the kitchen assets that you have here, you see how nice these areas here look like. Why? Because everything seems very random and authentic. Whereas these here are a bit repetitive and not so authentic and realistic. And there is not it's not an issue to have more of the same object. This is what people do have, right? The issue is if it feels copy pasted, you know. So in this particular case, maybe you have two columns of balls. What you can do is maybe just remove the top ball of one of the columns, maybe rotate the olive oil bottles a bit around, and then it will be better. But all in all, this is a really good shot. Next, we have the third image, which has some really nice modeling of the stairs and also very lively and relatable. I buy it. This living room staging. However, in terms of lighting, we have the same issue as we had with the courtyard shot. Why? Because we have a central perspective. The leading lines lead us to something which is actually worth viewing. The stairs are in the darkest area of this room, and this is not that great. So what you can do, if these here are supposed to be spots, then you can turn them on, or you can turn on an invisible rectangular light somewhere here, suggesting a light being turned on the second floor above the stairs. And also, talking about the stairs, we have this empty area underneath the stairs, which really isn't that sexy to look at. So what you can do if you want to keep the angle is you can change the camera position a bit. You can take the camera lower and put it to the right so that the sofa and the table cover up lots of this. Or the better solution is to actually put something in there. We had a similar situation on a different project that we reviewed, and then the artist had put like cushions and some toys for kids, like a kids corner. And of course, use depth of field on the bars too, because it's interfering with the composition. Next, we had the fourth shot, which is nicely framed, but otherwise kind of problematic, because we have because we need this area here to stick out more. We already have three topics. We have the door, the TV wall, and the kitchen, which is too much for the viewer to take. And the best solution here is to use the light. So we already have some spots. Be a bit more precise while positioning those. But you have the spots. Turn them on, like they are on, but try to increase their illumination multiplier so that they actually produce some light. And then redirect the natural light. If possible, try to get it to go somewhere here on the low board. If not, then turn it away so that it doesn't illuminate the kitchen as well, because now the kitchen, which is not the most important part of this image, is the most illuminated part of the image, making it very prominent, which you don't want. And also, you can turn on the TV. You can backlight the TV, and when you turn on the TV, you're in charge. You're the one deciding what it displays. So you can take an image of the TV, which is, kind of fits the colors and the materials that you already have in your color scheme here and or your material scheme as well. And the second issue here are the empty shelves, because they are not convincing. Like if you take a look at the kitchen, you see people are already cooking in it, like they're living in it full time. And then when it comes to the living room decorations, then there is none. Like they had no time to put a book or something here. So obviously you need to fix this one. This is maybe one of the things that you would have fixed anyway. But what I would say is populate those shelves with stuff from the Cosmos library, some books, vases, clocks, deco items, whatever. Maybe place something here also on the counter of the low board, and then this scene would end up looking better. And then we end up at the image that you separately mentioned in your description, the fisheye shot that you tried out for the first time. And let me tell you, this is a lovely use of a fisheye lens. Let me explain why. Let's compare this shot and the very first one. Which one do you think is better? For me, it's definitely the fisheye shot, because it shows the entire space flow way better than the first shot. In the first shot, we're by the stairs, we're in the middle of the living room, and the living room is kind of like, a foreground for us. And what we focus on is more the area here, the well lit up area. If we go to the fisheye lens shot, you will see that we actually see the whole interior. We see the living room, the whole living room. We see the dining room area. We see more of the kitchen. and more of the backyard as well, and even the door that wasn't visible on the first shot. So when in terms of informational value, this shot is better. But it's not only the informational value; it's also a cooler shot. Just take a look at it. It's interesting. It's exciting. It's dynamic. It's a cool shot. So you did a great job using it here. And only thing I would recommend to you is maybe use some wall art or maybe some high statue here next to the door to even better even out the composition. That's it though. That's a really solid commercial work, and some aspects of it, as you say for yourself, need some more time in the oven, and I think you will be addressing this. But you're totally on the right path, and if you need help, you know where to find it. Mikkel says the light holes seem big. It's just me. No, Mikkel, it's your opinion, man. It's whatever it is. I also find them to be big, but I've actually seen examples of false ceilings that have pretty large holes that that they're not filled in with a spotlight. They actually are remain as holes, and there is eventually a small spotlight somewhere beneath or above the hole, but the hole stays as such. And then if diffuse lighting is turned on, like indirect lighting, then these are lit up like small lit up circles, something like this. So we don't know. I don't know what it is, how they meant this to be. I think it's just unfinished at this point because it's a work in progress. But we'll see how it is. And if they end up being spotlights, I think I agree with you. They will be too large and also too many, in my opinion. Anyway, great work, Sheriff. Let's review the final work for today, which is a very interesting and intimate scene by Smith. He writes, "Hi guys, hi Theo. Today I'd like to get some feedback on these images. I tried to create a nighttime intimate atmosphere with a girl in the pool, based on real life experiences, I hope. My intention is to evoke intimate feelings, especially at night when daylight isn't present. I'd like to know what I can improve. This was delivered to a client and they loved it, but deep down I feel it could be better. However, I can't quite figure out what could be improved. Maybe you, with a more trained eye, can tell me. The images were created using 3ds Max and Corona." Another really nice description, and you see, folks, these descriptions are really worth it because now we know what Smith is after, what he's trying to achieve, what he's not quite happy with, or what he's unsure about, and we can then react very specifically to those topics. So yeah, great description. Let's take a look at the images, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed the architectural situation here. It's nice, it's interesting, and actually makes me want to see more of this building or this situation. The next thing that I really want to compliment here is the integration of this girl. It's absolutely spot on. We have the reactive water. You can see it in the top view as well. We have very nicely reactive water, which suggests that she maybe just leaned back as the photo was taken. We have her bikini color very nicely matched the water hue, which means that you've put the thought into all of this. And then her expression. Let's take a closer look. It's perfect, because it seems like she's enjoying the moment, and this is exactly the type of mood and vibe that you want to transmit with an image like this. And just as a side note, I also want to say that I really like I don't know if it's like a 3D model or a 2D cutout or whatever you've used, but I like that she's not like some type of, porn bimbo with like huge tits or something like this, because this could pull a scene like this, it could take the class out of it and pull it into something, way less classy. But I think the girl is perfectly integrated and generally a great choice. She's beautiful, yes, but she's not a bimbo, Also, I really find the lighting very exciting. I like it. I like how we see this very warm light on the inside, and then the spotlights, and then something which resembles like a sunset light. But at the same time, this is also a bit of an issue, because it seems that the lighting that you have achieved in the end isn't quite consistent with the lighting that you describe in your description, because you say, I try to create a nighttime atmosphere. My intention is to evoke the feelings, especially at night when daylight isn't present. Well, the way it looks, it seems like daylight is present just in the form of a sunset. And this is before it could be actually a very shadowy courtyard, what we have here. It's just that the environmental lighting is just too bright. Like it looks more like early evening, eventually an overcast blue hour rather than nighttime, just so you know. So if you want to really go for a nighttime, then make sure that your environment lighting is darker and that your artificial lighting is more focused, because even if you have complete darkness when it comes to environment lighting, and then you have 100 light sources illuminating everything like it's a, in a public transportation or something, then you still won't have this nighttime vibe that you're after. And the next thing I saw is a bit of the design. We have this double door here and then this massive plant in front of it, which makes the door be kind of, dysfunctional. So I would say either remove the plant or I don't know what, but the door otherwise is questionable in its functionality. And when it comes to the interiors, yeah, they're cool, they're minimalistic, that's okay, but they're kind of too empty. So maybe hint a bit more life on the inside. And talking about the pool area exclusively, so first of all, the pool, if we take a look at it from all directions, you see here the whole pool, here you see a detail, let's say this detail, here we see it from the top, and it looks like it's being carved from one huge block of, I don't know what it is, sandstone, granite, something like this. And this doesn't look very realistic. So I would say try to add a bit more, constructional detail to it. Some grouts in the corners or something like this. And when it comes to the garden around, from this point of view, it looks nice. But when we take a look at it from above, you will see that it's nice, but a bit generic. Maybe you can do some step stones leading to this pool or whatever this is, just so it looks less generic and a bit more, wanted. And then while we are at the top view, let me show you something. If you want to make a top view like this, you need to add more detail to the roofs. So a roof seen from this perspective would look like something like this, okay, seen from above. So you have the roof, and then you have some parapet wall thickness here, and same goes here as well. The roof with its wall thickness, and then in the rest of this area you can have some gravel or some roof greenery, which makes these roofs look realistic. The way they are at the moment, you should better just get rid of this image if you don't want to work more on the roof. But other than that, this is one really, really nice commercial work. And let me tell you, you actually aced the most difficult part, which is the atmosphere, the mood, the vibe, the implementation of the girl, the storytelling. This is already great. What you need to do next is just add more architectural details and have a more precise lighting, so that this vibe, this nighttime intimate session is you're as achievable. But yeah, gladly use some references for this. But this is a really, really cool project, Smith. So I hope this feedback is useful to you and helps you. Okay, folks, we managed the second hurdle, which have been the work in progress projects, and now we have still a lot in front of us. You're still here? I see you. Amit says, porn bimbo, good feedback. Well, yeah, I mean, I see this from time to time, and I gotta say, maybe because of games or something like this, but sometimes there are, especially free models, tend to be kind of in the erotic direction, which, doesn't really fit. I think something can still be very sexy and erotic, but when it has more class to it rather than, you understand. Danushka says, oh yeah, here we are. Yeah, now that we talk about erotic and porn, you're here, of course. No, just kidding, Danushka. It's awesome that you're here. And now it becomes actually very, very interesting, because it's time for us to start talking about our first topic for the day. Someone says Arvis in OnlyFans would be a nice combo for creative investment. Yeah, you know what? This is not a combination of words that I thought I will hear at some point in my life, but this sounds actually really, really interesting. So, Arvis in OnlyFans, or OnlyFans in Arvis. This is actually pretty cool. There was somebody who was running a very, very successful business online by selling something like screws and such construction materials, but always had a very busty lady holding all of this. And I think the business was really successful. Anyway, folks, let's talk about a bit of a more serious topic, but let's first take a sip of water and continue the second major part. If we see that it goes for too long, maybe we can leave the last part for the next show, even though I really don't want to, because I'm most hyped about it, actually. So yeah, first topic for today. And as I told you, today's show is going to be a bit different because we'll mix the first topic with some inspiring works from the last 2 weeks. So in order to do that, let's circle back to the beginning of the show and talk about the future of AI in Arvis session. And throughout this special, very nice episode, a very important topic was addressed a few times by questions from the audience, and it was, does AI mean the end of, for visualization artists, is AI here to take our jobs, and will it take our jobs? And all three of these awesome folks that you see here agreed that no, AI is just a tool. One needs to adopt it, one needs to integrate it in their workflow, but it's just a tool. It won't be taking anyone's jobs. And personally, I gotta say, I very much agree with this. However, I don't want to completely disregard the concerns of those people who fear for their future just by saying, nah, it's all good. So, and if we scroll down, actually, under the YouTube video, we will find a comment by Super Totoro 85 saying, it's exciting, and I apologize for being an alarmist, but I personally think you're all a bit too rosy-eyed on this. There will be massive implications across all job sectors, not just architecture, engineering, and construction simultaneously. I'd say a good 90% of my clients in the US do not want to pay for visualization services, but it's been a necessity for marketing and public interfacing. Obviously, yeah, people need his clients need the image in order to be able to sell their apartments, buildings, or whatever. Makes sense. These tools will develop so quickly that any individual, maybe even the clients themselves, will produce a visualization package for their projects. Tool is a misnomer for this technology. It transcends just automation. It's a Trojan horse individuals and businesses will utilize to replace human decision making for the purpose of reducing bottom lines. So, if people can do it with AI, they'll do it with AI and won't pay an artist. This is how I understand this. Our expertise will be leveraged against us effectively and completely. I truly hope I'm wrong. Hi, Kama. And yes, I also really hope that he is wrong about this. But surely, at least partially, he is right. How come? Well, come to think about it, clients and actually people in general don't really enjoy paying, right? We don't like paying, we like getting stuff. So if I asked you, folks, would you love to have an RTX 5090? You'll most likely say, yeah, hell yeah, I'd love to. If I say, folks, would you love to pay for a RTX 5090? The answer probably won't be the same, right? And this is the thing. Clients don't want to pay for not only visualization, they don't want to pay for construction materials, they don't want to pay for construction workers, they don't want to pay architects for their design. What they want to do is sell apartments and make profit. This is what they want. Unfortunately for them, though, it's not possible. They need the expertise of architects, engineers, construction workers, 3D artists, marketing companies, in order to reach the phase where they can start selling their apartments and making profit. So what do we learn from all of this? We learn that skill matters. You see this, you probably have seen this image, like, hey, ChatGPT, finish this building. Your skills are irreplaceable. Yeah, skill matters, expertise matters, knowledge and experience matter. These are the things that make an artist or any other profession irreplaceable. And I'll give you an example. Most company managers and CEOs that I have met or encountered throughout my career always had the latest iPhone or Samsung or whatever, the latest smartphone in their pockets, and those phones always have the latest state-of-the-art cameras, right? Yet those people still pay professional photographers something like 1,000 or 2,000 euro for a single day session for a photographer to come take photos of their project. So how come? So the reason behind this is that managers and CEOs with their latest great phones and great cameras can take high resolution photos, while pro photographers can take good photos. That's the difference. Photos that make potential clients go, I want that, I like that, I need it. You know, if a pro photographer would just randomly take photos without the knowledge and implementation of that knowledge, when it comes to composition, lighting, storytelling, form, contrast, color, pattern, then the managers and CEOs will save their money and just start taking photos with their iPhones. This is the truth. And exactly the same thing goes for 3D artists and AI. If your expertise is nothing more than basic modeling and texturing, then, rendering a generic random image, then you're very right to fear getting replaced by AI, because you need to be able to be better than that. You need to have an expertise. Now, the thing is, though, we're not here to put you down. On the contrary, actually, we are here to build you up and motivate you. And to do that, we'll do two things now. So first, I'll show you a few examples from the group, examples of works showing different areas of expertise. And later, I will take you on a motivational journey of the creation of a random portfolio project. So let's start with the first part. Louis says, brilliant, Theo, I concur. Creative problem solving and reasoning is still a unique human quality out of the immediate reach of AI. Fully agree. Very well said, Louis. And glad to have you here, by the way. I didn't see you in the beginning. Okay, so we'll take a look at a few projects showing expertise, different types of expertise. We'll start off big with a project by Ylli. It's a residential project in Pristina, Kosovo. And this is one great example of a full expertise package, okay? So what we have here, the first image already shows it. Very realistic visuals, wonderful storytelling. You see here the people taking care of their garden, having a good time, the kids playing. Just a side note for you, Ylli, make sure that the people that you use have adequate clothing, because obviously this is a summer scenario, but the boy here has a winter jacket and a beanie. So just, swap them. But apart from this, really, really good image. Here, a bird view shot. Bird view shots are a genre on their own. They are just something else. They need a different approach that, let's say, normal street level shots, they are different than interiors. They need a lot of work. They need a lot of detail. And once again, this is very well done. Here, nice creative framings, much dynamic. Here, lively, beautiful atmosphere, which captures this get-together concept of this residential complex, right? Now here we have let's say a day version of this same situation, which is something that I would not recommend, because so far we had very different looking images and they all seemed rather convincing and realistic. Once you do something like this, and people, stay at the very same position and just the lighting changes, it immediately screams, render, this is a render. And you don't want this. So there are multiple solutions here. The easier solution is to just pick one version. I would recommend this one. And of course, the more elaborate and difficult solution or optimal solution is to keep the camera, to change the lighting settings, but also change the positioning of all the people, the storytelling and everything. But obviously, this is a ton of work, so I don't know. If I were you, I would just go with this situation here, and that would be the end of it. Anyway, we have fine framing, lighting, and composition. Just take a look at how much input there is on an image like this, and we still clearly see the buildings and the way those terraces are formed, the greenery and everything. This is masterclass. This is really good. Next, we have very believable integration in the surroundings. Take a look at this. This is really good. Here, once again, you did the same thing where you kept the situation the same and just changed the lighting. Here, I would eventually go with this one because this is kind of better shows the integration in the surroundings and the surrounding mountains and stuff. But nevertheless, this is really, really good. Then, change of pace. We have an atmospheric evening shot with some dynamic to it, with the rear lights that we have here through the motion blur. This adds variety. This adds a new mood to the whole session. This is really great. Then for the really nice framings, just take a look at this one, the natural framing, the dark foreground. This is very, very well done. And if you ask yourself, can AI do it? Absolutely not. Because, and I don't think it will be able to anytime soon, because in order to be able to do this, AI should be able to analyze the project, understand its strengths, its qualities, know how to visually and emotionally transmit them to the viewer, and also have the skill to technically pull this off in a precise and consistent way. So you can absolutely forget about this. What you can do with AI here is enhance the realism of the 3D people, for example, which Ylli has absolutely made use of, and rightfully so. So in conclusion, first of all, impressive work by Ylli, and then a great example of expertise package, which makes sure that AI, I mean, if people have those buildings and need them visualized, I have AI. I won't be able to do this. I know how to use AI. I will still reach out to Ylli before I try to do it with AI. Simon says, well done depicting different concepts, framings, and lighting scenarios, bro. Great images as always. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's move over to project number 2. And here we have an example of a different expertise. So this is a work by Erfan called Maca 4. And there is something about Erfan's work that has really stands out to me, viewing his works time and time again in our community. And this is his ability to put a very clear focus on what he wants to show to the viewer with his images and image sessions. So let's take a look at this building. We'll start with the first shot, which is, So what we have used here, or what he has used here as techniques is natural framing. We see this here with the trees, volumetrics, and the lighting. And let's take a look at this. Why do we immediately see which building the whole scene is about? Because he has masterfully used all of these 3 techniques. You see, all 3 buildings, the one to the left, the main building, and the one to the right, are lit up, but the one to the left and the one to the right are hidden behind trees, making them less interesting and less visible. We also see the street. We also see here the wall, but it's hidden behind the volumetrics, taking away the contrast so that we don't focus on it and still focus on the image. And then we have the foreground, which is dark, so that we once again focus on the image. And all of those make sure that the building is visually isolated as the most important element of the image, but in a very natural way. Because in the end of the day, he still shows the urban environment. He shows the park, he shows the street, he shows the surrounding buildings. But what we see is what he wants us to see, his building. Let's continue with the second shot. Very creative angle. It's dynamic, shows the architectural detail, and it's an exciting change of pace. Suddenly, on the first shot, we had this very static shot from the distance, and suddenly we're underneath the building. That's pretty cool. And once again, the building is still the main focus. Third shot, we have a new lighting scenario, which obviously adds variety to the session and makes it more informational because we now are able to see what happens on the inside of the building. But the building remains the eye catcher. Why? Because it is the only mostly illuminated building in the whole scene. And then the fourth shot, which is very similar to the first shot, where we have the natural framing, Volumetrics and lighting. Once again, you see the lighting lights up the building from an angle which it looks three-dimensional, where it has depth to it. We have the volumetrics to cache out the street. We have the dark foreground, so we don't see that much of the street. We don't get distracted by it. And once again, what we see is the building being the most important element of this image, but done in a very natural and elegant way. Now, if you ask, can AI do this? Or if I ask, I would say no, AI cannot do it, because in order to do it, AI will need to understand the situation and know how to smartly approach it, which requires experience and which requires a human's mind. That's it. Really nice work and fun. Let's move over to the next one. As a next example, this is obviously an example for an expertise in something else, an expertise in creativity, and the point where creativity meets design. It's the Urban Park Food Court by Tilina. And Tilina, whoever has seen his works in this community, he often posts some of his works here, knows that Tilina has mastered the art of turning nature-inspired motifs into functioning architectural concepts, and also depicting those in a way which is comprehensible to everyone, So we have the peacock food court here, and this is just, once again, just one of many examples that Tilina has shared with us, showing his creativity. Just take a look at the peacock feathers being the sunshades of these single tables on the square. This is just amazing. And to me personally, it's always a pleasure to see his works, and I'm admiring his creativity, but also I'm admiring his skill to turn these creative concepts into something which is actually functional, and to then also properly being able to properly depict it, right? So if we ask ourselves, well, can AI do this? I would say, no, AI cannot do this, because it needs imagination and real creativity to do this. Sure, what AI can do is, if you properly prompt something like this, AI can produce an image based on that prompt, creating some organic looking structure based off of a natural element. But this structure won't have a proper scale, it won't have proper usability or functionality tied to them, so it will have no architectural value, as Tilina's works actually usually do. Let's take a look at these plans in the beginning. You see here, there are different areas and everything makes more or less sense. Surely this is not worked out in the tiniest detail, but the whole concept makes sense from the architectural standpoint. It's not only a nice looking facade, right? And this is why here we see another example of skill making the artist irreplaceable, because if I actually want a building which is inspired by some natural element, I'll reach out to Tilina and not to AI, even though I have AI here at my disposal. And to you, Tilina, another great inspiring project. Louis says, fascinating, stunning, effective site planning. Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's continue with another work. This is another area of expertise. It's the Mist Forest by Hankyo. Hankyo, I saw you in the comments. Hope you're still here, man. Mika says the peacock is wicked. Absolutely. It's really, really cool. So, this is probably the second or third work of Hankyo that I see depicting landscape architecture in an urban environment. And this is, of course, very specific and almost niche area of visualization. But the thing is, though, even niche areas also need their experts, right? And you may ask, well, what's so special about this image? It's just like a few walkways, some trees and rocks, and then some buildings in the back. So what's about it? Well, it's the sum of its all components that's special about it. It's, first of all, it's the situation itself. It's something special because we have a clearance in the park, like with a hole in the floor, if you want to call it like this, but this is what it is. Usually, we're used to visualize things that are erect from the ground, you know, a building, a car, whatever. And here we have a hole, which is really tricky to pull off. And then we have very realistic and authentic looking image. It's not over the top. It's nicely balanced between the, let's say, curated and wild areas. It's interesting to look at, it's exciting to look at, it's atmospheric, it's lively. There is even some mysticism around those rocks. I really want to know what happens there. And this is actually a result of a skill. And I don't think that AI can do this because landscape architecture tends to be very precise when it comes to proportions, to materials and surfaces, to plant selection. Similar to, let's say, regular architects who say, I want this type of concrete and I want this type of floor and this whatever, bricks, color and mortar size and whatnot. Landscape architects tend to be the same way, just with other elements. So if they say you need to use native trees and ferns, you have to use native trees and ferns. You cannot just take ornamental grasses and just some random palm trees and call it a day. This doesn't work. Same with the pavements and things like this. So everything needs to be done according to the way they envision it. And doing this isn't really easy. Believe me, I have worked with landscape architects and it was difficult. Sometimes the most difficult part even on a very otherwise huge and difficult project. So yeah, we had here another example of skill, and to you, Hankyo, great work. Okay, next we have another example, because by this point you may think, well, okay, it seems like skill is only interesting and available when it's for exterior use. But that's obviously not the case. So let's take a look at a very skillfully made interior. It's a project called Rooted Simplicity by Molham. And what Molham has mastered is the art of achieving strong tonal contrasts while avoiding over and underexposure, which is really, really tricky. Believe me, try it out and you'll figure it out for yourself. Because you see, take a look at these contrasts. But despite them being so strong, you don't see the darks being too dark or pitch black, or the whites being overexposed. And that's really tricky. And this skill makes his interiors actually visually stand out among many other interiors that we get to see in the group, and provides them with, let's say, an own and pretty significant visual style. And obviously, something like this is pretty attractive to clients, because if I pay as a client for a render, I want my render to stand out, right? So to no surprise, most of the images that Molham shares with his community are of commercial nature. And here, with this work, for example, we see specific skill becoming something of a trademark for an artist. And the more you have your own skill and your own trademark, the less replaceable you are. Makes sense, right? And to you, Molham, another great work. And finally, if we think, okay, skill and expertise isn't only relevant to artists, right? Of course not. It goes for every type of visualization, being it automotive, project, or whatnot. So, and next work, this work that you already see, is a great example of this. So this is a work by Winder, I'm not sure how to pronounce this name. But what matters is that he is an amazing modeler. He creates those pieces, the pieces that you see right now, pieces of furniture from scratch. So he does all the 3D modeling, the mapping, the texturing, and the final projects are of really, really high quality, as you can see for yourself here. I mean, if you put this chair in any scene, it will immediately enhance its quality, the atmosphere it has. You can do close-up with it. It's really, really good. I can show you another example as well, this one. And I think that his skill makes him stand out among the crowd. And also, by the way, just as a side note, it is a great testimonial for his modeling course. Obviously, I'm not paid or asked to talk about it, but at some point I asked him about how he was so good in modeling, how he does this, and he was like, yeah, I even have a course, you can check it out. So yeah, and honestly, looking at all those images, especially the first chair that I've shown you, I would really consider it. I like to work on my skills. I like to improve my skills, and modeling is one of the things that I would gladly work on more. And seeing what he offers here, I'm convinced that his course is something that will be beneficial to me. And now let's talk about AI, because this was the beginning of our talk. What about AI? Can AI make something like this? Sure, AI can make a nice realistic looking image of a piece of furniture. or it can even create a rough 3D model based on a photo. But what it cannot do is precisely follow technical drawings or ensure structural and material consistency. So if I need my project visualized, I want it to be exactly the way I envisioned it and concepted it, then I will reach to people like Vinder or Mikkel Montes. He's here. He's another great modeler because of their skill, because of their precision, because of their accuracy. So yeah, I think we see, here we saw another example of 3D artists not being replaceable by 3D. And I think by this point, we can conclude that in order to not be replaced, 3D artists need to offer more than what is set out to replace them. It's simple as that, believe it or not. Yeah, there are clients who will end up preferring the generic AI slop over a good, nicely composed, lit up, framed render because it's cheaper. There are clients like this, and for some of them, we can actually even have some understanding. Let's think from the client side for a second. Let's imagine you have just established your studio, your architectural studio. This is the first project you work on, and you need visualizations, but you don't have like a few thousand to invest. So because otherwise you won't be able to put food on the table, right? So in this case, you probably refer to AI because it's cheaper, because this is the only thing that you can afford, right? But this doesn't mean that later you won't be able to value quality. Of course, there are also clients that simply do not value quality. They just want something to be cheap. But honestly, in my experience, these are not the clients that you will be having in a long term anyway. What matters, however, is that there will always be the other clients who value quality and are eager to pay it. And when they show up, it's important that you are prepared to deliver. Imagine it like this. I mean, out there, we have fancy, expensive restaurants, but also fast food joints. So how come the fancy, expensive restaurants still exist when there are fast food joints, right? I mean, if people only go for the cheapest option, the fancy restaurants wouldn't exist. But this is not the case because some people actually like to go to the expensive restaurants, even not people who are not that rich. They just will save up and then go to an expensive restaurant because the service is better, because the food is healthier, more tasty, because of the nicer setting, because of the nicer views and whatnot. And this is why they both exist. And however, when the fancy restaurant is just more expensive, but everything else is like the fast food joint, then of course everybody will be going to the fast food joint to save money, because otherwise people will simply be stupid if they didn't, right? So try to be like the expensive fancy restaurant. Have something, have an expertise, have skill, have experience, so that people know that when they reach out to you and have to pay more compared to AI or whatnot, that it makes sense. There is a reason for this. So yeah, my conclusion is AI is a tool and it won't be replacing us, but we need to be able to offer the expertise to not be replaced. I hope this makes sense. Luis says quantitative models will be our co-pilot too, but you will still be doing the driving. That's what the client will pay for. Yeah, I can very much imagine that it's going to be like this. Amit says there are lots of good modelers in our group and it's so good to see their work. Yeah, I very much enjoyed it as well. It's great. Smith says, hi Theodore, I was late, but I made it. It's great to have you here. We already talked about your work and reviewed it, but you can always watch the recording and check out the review. It's great. There is just a bit of here and there, adding a bit more detail, and it will be great. Okay, folks, we're actually very good. We're 1 hour and 24 minutes in, and it's already time for us to jump to the next part of the show, the final part, which will be a lengthy one once again, but very, very interesting. I guarantee it's going to be the second topic. And I think we can maybe make a very short pause so that I get something to drink before we move on. So I will be just back in a minute. And then we'll start with something very, very exciting. I don't know if you watched the video that I shared, but this will be really, really cool because I plan to give you a glimpse behind the scenes of a project I created for the purpose of this show. So Give me a second and we'll be back. Folks, you're still there. I'm back. Louis says, Theo, you're amazing. I am so grateful for your insight and your amazing ability to inspire and inform. Cheers, Louis. Thank you very much. I hope you stay for the last part of the show because, once again, I think it's going to be very interesting to you and to everybody else who's here. Glad you stayed. Now we'll do something very interesting. Something we haven't done before in this show, and I haven't done before in my career while doing those shows. But let's see how it goes. I hope it will be interesting to you. Anyway, we'll move over to the second topic, but we'll stay a bit at this restaurant comparison that we just had, because in order to get the attention of potential guests, restaurants need to offer them a tasty looking or sounding menu, right? And in our case, as 3D artists, the equivalent to this is having a portfolio with some great looking images in it. And now the question is, does producing good, impactful images automatically equal tons of effort and days of work? And actually, it doesn't. And the following two projects that I also want to show you from the group are a very good evidence of this. So I'll share my screen again and we'll move over to these two projects. First one is this project by Claudio, a bathroom. He decided to play around with Vantage, as he says. He set up a very simple looking bathroom, took two wonderful shots out of it, and as you see, it was more than enough to capture my attention and that we get to talk about this during the live show. So that it seems like it works. The second example I want to show you is the headphone project by Juan Gabriel, who decided to exercise his texture work, found a great free model on TurboSquid, this one, and then fully retextured it from scratch as far as I can tell, and added some more detail, some storytelling. You see some weathering, gave it a bit of a used look with scratches here and there. And while doing so, of course, trained his skills, and then created a very nice product visualization session that you currently see previewed, right? And this will definitely give him a great addition to his portfolio. And once again, we're talking about it here in the live show. And I gotta tell you that these two works that you just saw inspired me to show you how an impactful portfolio project can be created pretty much out of nothing or without so much effort. So let's first specify what this out of nothing actually means. Sometimes we want to diversify our portfolios, which is great and very important, especially for freelancers or CGI generalists, because it gives us more flexibility. Just imagine it like this. I'm speaking from experience here. If, let's say, you do amazing interiors and a potential client, needs an exterior and they see your portfolio and they go like, this artist makes great interiors, but I need an exterior. I'll go look for somebody else. If you make wonderful ArcVis images, bird views, interiors, exteriors, whatnot, and somebody needs an automotive rendering or product shots, and they see your portfolio, they'll be like, Looks good. When I need ArcViz, I'll definitely get back to this artist. But right now, I need product visualization. I'll go look for somebody else. This is why, especially once again, if you're self-employed, want to be a CGI generalist, it's great to have a portfolio which is a bit more diverse, which includes more than just one type of visualization, being it interior, exterior, whatnot. And in these cases, it's great to do something like what Juan Gabriel did here and just start creating something like a product visualization. But oftentimes we don't know where to start. Like Juan Gabriel here, he found his headphones and decided, okay, this is what I'll do. But if you don't find something like this, how do you know where to start? And let me tell you, this is where keeping your eyes and your senses open comes in handy, because this can easily provide you with a very, very good starting point. And now let's get more specific, because from so far it may be a bit confusing for you to follow. We'll start in the beginning with the starting point. So, as I decided to make you a part of my process in a situation like this, where I just want to come up with a nice looking project to enhance my portfolio, I obviously also needed a starting point. And now, a few weeks prior, I opened my laptop in the evening to play a game, and I was greeted with a Windows login image which looked something like, okay, I didn't have it open. Wait a second, I should have been better prepared here, but I will open it in a second, which looked something like this. Okay, it wasn't like this, it was more like this. Okay, and let me tell you, once again, I was off to play a game, not to think about 3D, but seeing this, I was like, whoa, that's amazing. This looks like a stage with a beautiful, unique set decor around it. Actually, all you need is to place a project somewhere here in the middle, and you already have a wonderful project visualization setting. And if you do a render session here, it will immediately be amazing, just because of this structure that you have around your project. It mustn't be about the project itself, But once again, I didn't need it in the moment. I wanted to play a game. So I just made sure to remember it. And now that I needed something interesting, back at, last week, I needed something interesting as a setting for those impactful images that I plan to create with you. I simply remembered the Canyon image and decided that this is going to be my starting point. And this is my first major tip that I want to share here with you today, is to train your senses and be impressionable, okay? Because throughout your day, you don't need to really travel around the world and make huge investments and stuff in order to get impressions. You may watch a movie, you may, just go pick up your kid from school and see a sunset, or you see a park with a nice color, parked in front of a building with a nice color, and both together looking amazing. Sometimes we just encounter situations. In my case, it was just opening my stupid laptop and seeing the login, the Windows 11 login screen. That was a situation like this. What I did, and what I also advise you to do, is to make sure to remember this, to put them in your mental and emotional archive, and remember this so that when you need them later for your work or for a free time exercise, that you can get back to them. Of course, it helps when you take a photo of something like this, make a screenshot. I have a folder with references like this. Maybe take some notes or something about your thoughts, but train your senses to see things and then try to remember those things. But okay, we now have a starting point. Now let's see how I can implement this. Okay, I have the idea for the setting, but it's time for me to implement it. So obviously, my first thought, I think you immediately agree, was the Quixel library, right? Because the Quixel library has those great photorealistic scans, and I remember seeing cliffs like these in the nature section. So immediately I went to the Quixel library, I downloaded some, and I started putting them together. And this is the very, very first phase. Simon says, I'm always amazed by how some old painters are still such inspiration for ArcViz artists, and this process always gives great results. Yeah, absolutely agree. You should, I think this is what I recommend. just be impressionable. You know, you can see the old painters, you can see something from nowadays, you can see a movie, you can see inspiration everywhere, and you don't need to become a full-time geek and search it the whole time. There are some people out there who, you know, they let's say visit a new city with a family, and instead of spending quality time with their family, with their kids, with their significant other, they start taking 1 billion photos and taking notes and just becoming, you know, very, very annoying from my point of view. Just try to do it on the side. You know, you just take a look at something and think, oh, this is nice. Just try to remember it. Take a photo, write a short note, and then live your life. Okay. So yeah, back to putting together those cliffs. Let's call them like this. And yeah, this is you now you'll see a few shots from the beginning of the process. And please, folks, remember that what I'm showing you here now is something which is meant to be unfiltered. I could have, of course, shown you the final images and just have said, well, look at what I did, but these wouldn't have had any real learning value to you. And as a mentor, I want to give you here what you cannot get elsewhere, at least not without paying a lot of money. What I want to give you here is to show you the unfiltered process, the way it is, going back and forth, trying things, failing, and stuff like this. So be prepared for things like that. So yeah, this is how I started off. I put those cliffs together, made a sandy ground, then added a bit of volumetrics, added water, later added some sunlight as well. And of course, once you have a setting, I added also this chair that you see, that, let's say, my project. We remember how in the beginning I said, you have this beautiful setting, you only need a project to put so that you can make a beautiful project session. So yeah, this was quick. I tried taking some eventually somehow interesting photos, but let me tell you right away, we're keeping it real here, I wasn't convinced. Why? Because the Quixel cliffs, they're good, but they're good for the creation of huge landscapes that you see from afar, but not for such a almost close-up-y type of session, right? And here comes the second major tip I want to give you. Failure is part of the process. Learn to accept it. So I did something. Yeah, it didn't cost me a lot of time, but I did something and it wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to. And this is something which happens. It happens even to the best artists out there. Don't expect that everything you set as a goal you immediately achieve and otherwise you suck. No, you don't. It's a part of the process. That's why it's called a creative process, right? And especially if you're creating something like this, that you don't have a clear goal, but you want to start somewhere and see where it leads you, it's very, very common that sometimes you go in some directions which are not the directions that you actually wanted to go to. So what we have here, I'm not satisfied with. This is what I'm trying to say the whole time. And I accepted my failure and decided, nope, this is simply not it. I want something else. So what now? For my idea to work out, I need the right setting. And unfortunately, Quixel seems to not be it. So what are my options now? I can model and texture those things on my own, like try to create this on my own, or I can search for a ready-made model. Okay, let's go here. Yeah, here is my reference once again. So either create it on my own, or option B, try the ready-made model. Obviously, let's try out option B and see what it gives me. And after a short search, I found a model consisting of 7 Kenyan elements. Take a look at this. Thanks to the awesome artist named Buzarov, I found this model online. And if you take a look in comparison to the original Antelope Canyon, this is way closer to what I actually need. And let's take a look at the price tag, $6. Okay, hell yeah, of course I'll buy this one. Why? Because time is valuable. This is the third major tip. Your time is valuable. If I had to create this structure on my own, this would mean that I have to read into it, try to understand the concept behind how these were, made by nature, with over ears from a river and so on. I would have to experiment a lot with modeling, with texture mapping, with texture creation, because I obviously won't be able to download a texture like this ready-made. And while all of this that I just mentioned isn't anything bad, if I had the time for this and if I wanted to do something like this, like the full program, I would have done it. But in this particular case, I wanted to do something quickly, because this is what I want to show you, how to come up with something new and interesting and impactful, but quickly, not while spending like weeks on it, right? And $6. How about $6? Is it much? Of course not. I bought the model because fourth major tip, invest. You need to invest. You cannot expect payoff without investing first. Imagine you want a tasty, nice cake, but you're not eager to invest money to buy flour or eggs or chocolate or something like this. You won't get the cake, right? You need to invest in order to get something out of this. And $6 isn't that much if you try to see it as a marketing budget, because what I want to create is something that looks nice, which is kind of flashy, which is kind of impactful, with something that when I share it on social media will give me attention and exposure, meaning that this is a type of a marketing move on my side. And spending $6 on a marketing budget is absolutely nothing. Louis says, what site did you look for the model? I looked with Google and I found the site, but if you want to, I can later share the link with you. I still have it open somewhere, I think. Anyway, so yeah, I invested the $6. What's more, currently the USA is a mess, so the dollar is quite cheap compared to the euro. So for me, it was like €5, and this is less than, a kebab, like street food. So yeah, it was definitely worth it. Okay, so what we have now is a new begin. So let's see how I started creating the new setting. Okay, here it is. And if we go back, this looks way closer to what I'm actually after, right? What's missing here is this very nicely saturated color. And where does it come from? It's not post-production. It's actually the sun. If you do some reading, because I really like to analyze and do reading on things that I, work on. And yeah, if you do some reading, you know that it comes actually from the sun. So I added the sun, and take a look at this. Now, if we compare this and this, you see that we're getting very, very close to the reference, right? And now that we have this stage, let's take a look at what I said in the beginning, because now I have my own stage and set decor. What do I mean by this? So here we have the stage, we have the spotlight for the project, and we have the set decor. Stage, spotlight, set decor. You see the resemblance? It's definitely there, right? So what's the next step? We need something to happen on the stage, right? Just staring at an empty stage isn't really that interesting. So we need our project. We need a project. We need a hero, something happening. So I opened the Cosmos library and decided to pick something out of it, because I already invested money. Why should I invest more money? So I picked this bathtub. Why a bathtub? Well, obviously because of the association contrast. Now, what we have here as a setting is this, which is very, very dry, and a bathtub is something we associate with water, which is very, very wet. On the other hand, or at the same time, you know that this whole natural phenomenon is created by water. So I think getting water in some form into this is actually a pretty nice reverence to nature, okay? So let's pick up this bathtub and just place it in this setting that we have just built and see what we get. There it goes. Wonderful, unique project visualization. Take a look at this image. I mean, I don't want to be immodest here or something, but this is very, very good. If you imagine that you share let's say a project visualization session like this will definitely land. This will definitely stick out, and people will definitely remember this one. I tried different angles. You see, the asset that I downloaded isn't really like suitable for this for close-ups, because it doesn't even have the hole here. The shower head doesn't have any hose. But in the end of the day, this doesn't really matter, because I can always replace it with something else. What matters is that I have this thing here, And it's already very, very interesting because of the setting. So I was right with my initial thoughts on that evening when I wanted to play a game and my mind was elsewhere. Just a short glimpse of this setting, I was right that it would be an amazing setting for product visualization. Okay, but of course, and once again, it doesn't have to be a bathtub. You can take a run. I took afterwards like a couch and a lamp, and just take a look at this. This looks already so much cooler, so different than what we are used to see. Amit says, excellent and brilliantly executed. Michael says, nice one. Louis, lighting AI's weakest point, scale of photometry. Yeah, that's the thing. We now have our setting and we can do so much with it, right? So, and you see, it works. So we had the bathtub. Now we have a couch. I even put in a goddamn coat rack or clothes hanger, whatever this is called, and it still looks very, very nice because we have this spotlight setting. We have something like a theater stage, and it is already cool on its own. So everything we add to this only makes it cooler. You can even have a vehicle like there and then try to take a close-up. And this is a time where we should maybe mention the technical aspects of everything I'm doing here, because these have been quite many images so far. It says, put a table with some dates and wine bottle. It's a desert scene. Of course, you can do anything. Louis says, chromatic contrast and done and chill. Yeah. So, yeah, let's take a look at the technical aspects of what I'm doing so far. So, in order to create as many images without wasting time, I am using Vantage, or more specifically, Corona to Vantage Live Link. And while this is great and I love it, this is, let's say, the option with the most limitations. If I would be using V-Ray with Vantage, then I would have less limitations when it comes to supported materials. And also, what you're seeing here aren't even renders. These are the viewport snapshots from Vantage, okay? But let me tell you, this is absolutely fine with me because I don't want to waste time rendering because I'm currently exploring, right? And also, talking about quality, please take a look at this image and tell me that this is not a great looking image. Take a look at how clean and noise-free it is. Take a look at the reflections, the blurriness, the depth of field. This is very, very good quality, right? My mom is here. Hi, she says, so cool. Glad you like it. Evermotion should contract you for their model shots that they give in their PDF previews. Oh, they shouldn't. I wanted to do something which I felt like, but of course they can contact me if they want. Louis says, you're a scholar and a gentleman. Tell well played, Maestro. Thank you very much for your kind words. Okay, we clarified the technical aspects because we are absolutely not done, folks. We still have like way more to come here, because once I start, I'm very much into it. The interesting part is I didn't sit down and do this for hours. I was doing it on the side. I was helping my daughter set up, the final touches of her new bedroom and doing chores around the house, garden, yard work, and so on. And I would come from time to time to this and think, well, you know what? What's cool? Let's try this out. So, Vantage depth of field? Yeah, of course, Vantage depth of field. This is it. I can show it to you by the end when I'm finished with all the images that I want to show you. I can show you the Vantage presentation. Oh, my dad is also here. This is so great. My whole family is here. I think I saw Helen somewhere as well. This is called support. Thank you very much. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so we currently have a vehicle here, with this motorbike, but this type of vehicle doesn't really fit that much into a canyon cave like this, right? How about trying it out with a vehicle that does fit? Here we go. Now, I want you to please see how harmonious the silhouette of this buggy fits within here. Take a look at this. You see how it follows the silhouette of the buggy? And take a look at this here. And you see how it also follows the silhouette of the buggy. It's like brackets that are holding our new main hero, right? So let's check the status quo now that we have the buggy inside. We have a great backdrop and scenery, and we have a fitting hero, a hero that makes sense to be there. Okay, so now for me it was time to start exploring, meaning looking for exciting angles. And the following images that you see, because I did them with Vantage, have been produced in just a few minutes, but once again they're totally unfiltered, so if there are some repetitions or something like this, don't be bothered. But let's take a look at them. There are like many of them coming. Oh, by the way, I tried bringing back the water, because once again it gives this nice color bleeding of the green on top of those cliffs, on the color of those cliffs, and also gives me some wonderful reflections down here, right? Okay, then I tried getting closer, showing the backside of the buggy. Take a look at the framing of this one. It's so good. Sorry for not being modest here, but we're keeping it real, and it's good. So take a look at this. It fits perfectly within those cliffs, and also all together with the lighting, it makes for this very, very beautiful looking tonal contrasts, and the buggy really visually sticks out. It's great. I'm having fun. You can tell, I hope. Take a look at this one, or this one. This right here is an amazing advertisement shot for, let's say, a company that sells ATVs, dirt bikes, quads, and all of those. This, just imagine the logo of the company somewhere in the top left corner, and then you have this, which looks very aggressive, very dynamic, and this awesome backdrop, and you have something so cool here. Then, obviously, I saw that this one is already aggressive, so I wanted to see if I can get it to be even more aggressive. Louis says, I feel like we're part of Theo's family now. Yes, you definitely are. The whole Chaos Campus community is, in the meantime, really a part of my family, believe it or not. Anyway, let's continue with the aggressive shots. This one is aggressive. This one is even more aggressive. Just take a look at this. I'm having fun. I want to try out things. It doesn't matter if they will end up in the final selection or not. I want to try out, right? Then we're back at the beginning. Let's take a look at this. This one, I'm getting more further. And then I had this one, where I decided that it's cool that the buggy is blurry and the focus is on the foreground. But obviously, when you have the focus on the foreground, we're missing something here. Simon says, well done with your parenting. Theo is an amazing dude. Yes, come on, folks. This is getting too much. I'm going to, you're making me ashamed here. Please. You're very kind, but let's focus on the images here. So I think you see what I see here, right? When we focus on the foreground, it's nice. We have some really nice texture on the ground, but it's not enough, right? I'm happy that to see the whole buggy. It's very nicely visible as a form. It's blurry, but I want to see something in the front. So what I thought it would be really, really nice if I put something which belongs in this canyon or cave, something like a scorpion. But do I really need to buy a scorpion model? Would I really invest in this? Nah, because I won't be able to use it in future, so I don't know why would I need a scorpion. So I decided, you know what, I pay for Photoshop. Photoshop has generative fill, so let's use that. I took the image over to Photoshop quickly and added a scorpion. This is like the 10th rendition because generative fill wasn't really good with scorpions, but this one was actually pretty nice. What I also pay for is Magnific. Let's enhance the foreground and the scorpion a bit. Looks better. And what do I also have is Photoshop, as you know. So I brought the Magnific image back to Photoshop, layered it over the original rendering because there were some artifacts. And here we go. Now we have an image with a scorpion. And you may say, why? Why do you need a scorpion? Because I can. This is an answer that I get from my daughter in recent times. She's 10. And I sometimes really think, well, that's a good enough reason. I can do this. I think, imagine once again, people who are into buggies and stuff like this, they're into adrenaline. They, like these very manly energy, power names. And you can easily imagine a buggy like this being called something like Scorpion Power, whatnot, right? So, yeah, here we have an image with a scorpion. Do I need it? No. Do I like it? Absolutely. Okay, let's continue furtherly testing angles and framings. This one, take a look at this one. I was searching, you see, I went through probably 14 angles so far, and suddenly the 60th angle is one that really captures my attention, and I think this is awesome. The framing is great, the composition is wonderful, it's dope. I love it. Let's see if I can focus more on the front. Oh yeah, let's do a version with water because of course, and then let's focus more on the front. Once again, thematizing the framing and the surrounding. Great, looks amazing. Okay, one final. Once again, this is a great shot for people who are into these types of vehicles because they see, you know, the powerful front of this. And once again, it is beautifully framed, and the form of these cliffs are actually once again very nicely following the form of the vehicle. You know, these are things that we should actually pay attention to. Now, okay, let me check the comments. Theo, and you know, I will ask what this is. Louis, what about Envision and its ray tracing engine, Lavina Root? Yeah, I mean, Envision, you know, Envision is like more for the people who use Enscape because they don't have to go to Vantage through 3ds Max and whatnot. They can just straightly go from, let's say, Enscape to Envision. I haven't tried it. I've seen Mike tried it out. I also have downloaded the beta, and I have a project, a very large project that I've shown on one of the previous shows because Envision has this awesome anime integration, and this is something that I want to try out on a large-scale project. So yeah, I would definitely try Envision at some point, but with a large-scale project where I really have this urban situation with cars and people, because I really want to test it in combination with anima. But for something like this, I have Vantage, and I love Vantage. Okay, I see very many compliments towards my mom and dad, rightfully so. They are awesome people, and I love them very, very much. Amit says, now you have extended family too, Mr. and Miss Nomu. You have lots of kids now to take care of. This is really nice with you guys. Okay, so we're here now. Let's see what happens, because so far we had the natural illumination only focus on the front of this vehicle. What happens if we have the backside of the buggy being lit up properly? And it looks very, very nice. And if we go back to the shot, you know, the Scorpion shot, in the initial shot, this was this one, the buggy is very, very dark, which, you know, now in retrospect, I don't like as much as I like it here. So let's fuse the new version, the new lighting, with the old Photoshop file, and here we go. Now we have an even better Scorpion shot. Do I need it? Still not. Do I love it? Absolutely. Okay, now it's time. I've had enough of testing angles. Now it's time for me to start fooling around with the lighting, and the thing that I really would like to test here is some neon lights. So let's see how it turns out, and bam, here you go. But you see something is missing, right? Something is missing. What's missing? The buggy's rear and headlights aren't turned on, but they should be with a setting like this. So let's turn them on and add some more neon lights. Better this way, right? We have more neon, we have the buggy's rear and headlights turned on. And now let's check out this new lighting setup with the old angles. Damn, take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is really, really cool. Right? But wait a second. As I told you, this is really, really unfiltered. Take a look at this one with all the reflections and the water and everything. This is just so cool. I love watching this one. But yeah, what did I just do? I turned on the headlights and the rear lights of the buggy. Okay. I really need to go back to the daylight shots and see how they look like with the headlights turned on. Because if we go back here, you see that the headlights are not turned on. This is a miss on my side. So I gotta go back and see if it is better with the lights turned on. Yeah, definitely. Just take a look at this. Looks way better, right? Yeah, with the backlights, we have some red, which very harmoniously goes with all the surroundings. It's dope. It's really, really good. Okay, now it's time for us to go back to the neon lighting. And as Louis calls it, chromatic contrast. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Now, it's cool. But what bothers me here are those visible neon sticks. I don't like them that much. So it's time for me to try out a different lighting setup. And let me show you. I have the Max file here. So what I did instead, in order to get rid of those neon sticks, was I'll make this large. It was one huge rectangular light with blue color to it, and then these 5 red lights arranged in the same amount of distance between them, being red. And there is also one light above the car, which is a warm light. Okay, simple as that. Now let's see how this looks like. Oh, this is nice. Now we don't have those annoying neon tubes, and we can focus on a very, very cool looking lighting setup. Mikkel says, would be cool if we ask Klink AI to make the buggy transform into a robot. Wicked. Oh yeah, this would be cool, like Transformers. Yeah. Anyway, so we're back into the neon, but we changed the lighting setup. So now let's see what we have with the neon 2. And then we start experimenting, right? And it looks really, really nice. I absolutely love how these gradients are happening back here, from the blue, the red, the purple in between. It's really, really cool. Okay, let me see. Okay, you see we are here at Neon 2. It looks amazing. However, I'm missing a bit something. What I'm missing is that the car, the surrounding now is perfect. What I'm missing is that the car isn't as illuminated as I wish it would be. It doesn't stick out enough. Okay, so let's try a different concept, okay? And we are about flexibility here. This is the 5th major tip that I want to share with you. Don't get stuck on something just because you did it. So I did the neon tube lighting, right? And I already liked it, but there was some issues with it. So I needed to be critical with myself and try to change the lighting a bit. And now, also, I really like the new lighting, but I'm still missing something. So I once again need to get a step back and see what I can do. So let's try out direct illumination with a new lighting scenario to address the underexposure that I felt the car was having, or the buggy was having. So let's try to simulate some flashlight shots. Danushka says, oh my god, dude, you're just making me go crazy with ideas, Luis. Well, Theo just made me love my Vantage, clearly underused on my part. What if we put some volumetrics in the atmosphere with a neon setup? Yeah, we can do this. We can try it out. But yeah, let's now focus on the flashlight shots. And they're awesome. I really, really, really like them, especially as a, horror movie fan. They're awesome. And also they produce some absolutely amazing tonal contrast. But maybe they are eventually a bit creepy. So how about we try to also, we don't know where the light source is coming from. So how about we try to use something more visible to the viewer, something like utility flashlights as a light source. So I found a free model online and on Sketchfab, thanks to Whitechapel93 for this model. I downloaded it, retextured it, and then I tried to implement it in my scene. Let's see how it works. And now we have those utility flashlights placed on the floor and lighting up my buggy. And it works. The issue is, though, that the light sources are too low. So maybe I need an alternative. How about some spotlights instead? I know I have some in my library, right? Damn. Hell yeah. The buggy is now nicely illuminated as I wanted it to be, right? So you see from all angles, you can clearly see the form, you can clearly see the silhouette. Take a look at this. This is so good. Okay, so far so good. What about the canyon though? Now that we have the spotlights on the buggy, we don't see the canyon, and we kind of forget about it and kind of becomes secondary, which we don't want. So what we'll be doing next, we'll be bringing back the neon. And there we get it. Take a look at this. Now we have the neon surroundings and a car which is awesomely lit up. And now let's add some storytelling in order to make this be more like an actual setting. Let's simulate a photo session which will make sense of those standing spotlights. And here we go. Now we have a photo session going on the Antelope Canyon of a buggy. Isn't that not cool? Take a look at this. And now I'm once again, just having fun. And take a look at all the shots. They're so lively, they're so colorful, but they're still very well lit. And the hero is very nicely visible. And then think about me eventually sharing these images. And once again, these are not even renders. These are snapshots from the vantage viewport, right? Now, imagine me sharing this on social media, like this shot. Don't you think that people will kind of, see this and kind of value this, as Lewis puts it, chromatic contrast nirvana? And the best thing about it, because we're already here talking for a lot of time, but the best thing about it, the most fascinating part of all this is, remember where we started? Remember this? Remember this? It was just an idea. It was just something in my imagination. And in the meantime, we have done so freaking much with this. We went through like the chromatic contrast nirvana. We have a photo session going on right here. We have creepy images with flashlights. We had daylight images. Take a look at those. We have so much done in a really short amount of time, and we have explored so much while doing this. And what I really want to show you, because I already said, keep your senses open, and about this photo session, what inspired me for this? Let's go back to where are we here? And let me show you something that I'm a part of some photography groups, and one of them is the beginners photography group. And let me show you what I saw there. It's a photo session with this model. She's called Olympia, and these are some nice images. But the very last image, you see that? It's a behind the scenes of a photo session, a photo by a photographer, right? And if we now go back here, this is more or less what we had. So I started with one inspiration, the Antelope Canyon, and I ended with another inspiration. And ended is a big word here, because I'm not yet done. Because if I want, let's say, to add the water to these shots, of course it would be absolutely amazing how it will look like with caustics. But because I use Lifelink with Vantage from Corona, I currently don't get the caustics this way. So I don't need to export a VR scene, or I need to render this in Corona. But just imagine this. Imagine this surrounding with the caustics from this water. This will look so amazing. And I'm not finished yet. I'm not done yet. But what I wanted to show you is, take a look at what we did, the whole process, where it started and where it ended. And it, because of Vantage, and this is not an advertisement for Chaos or something. It's just that I absolutely, I'm a Corona fanboy, and I will, if you ask me, I will always use Corona for my final renders. But more and more, I think that Vantage is a great alternative, especially if you want to experiment with stuff, because the amount of time I would have invested to create all the images that you saw here in Corona would have been so much that I wouldn't have done it in the end. But with Vantage, I could just experiment one after the other. And I actually have it open here because I see you are very ecstatic about it. Simon says, today's episode is a masterclass on how to approach an idea and execute it like a pro. Thank you very much. I can't iterate that quickly in Corona, even after 12 years of production with it. Its workflow, Vantage it is, especially for someone passionate about lighting design. Nikos would have been happy to see these images. I also think so. But yeah, let me show you Vantage. I had it open the whole time. Here we have the scene. And the best thing about it is, this is real time, right? Here we go. We have a clear image. I can change to every scene that we have here. In real time. And it immediately clears out and we have the image. This might be the most actionable demo Chaos has never seen. Yeah, but at some point it dawned on me that it looks like I'm doing a Vantage demo, which definitely isn't my goal, believe me. Because I'm just, using the tools that are at my disposal. The same way I showed you how I use generative fill to add that scorpion. I just use what I have. My rig specs, you can read it here. I have a RTX 4090. So yeah, this of course explains something as well. But yeah, you can see Vantage is just so cool. And the best thing about it is that I can, okay, let's go to a camera which is at the front. This one, for example, and yeah. Amit, what did you say? Scattering some fog. Yeah, we can change the fog color. We have it now in blue. We can have it a bit more on the pinkish side. And of course, we can then play around with fog distance, with fog emission, because the emission is now, you see, we can make it really ugly if we want to. But yeah, we can do quite a lot. We can have the fog start after or behind the car so that it doesn't interrupt our view of the car, so that we still have a very clear image. And I really love Vantage for something like this. So yeah, but it's not about Vantage, it's about this unfiltered journey on how to start a project from out of nothing, out of just one idea or one, I imagine that it would be whatever, and then turn it into something that we now have been talking so much about. In the meantime, we discussed so many topics. We saw so many different variations of this topic, and we can do so much more with this as well. And I really hope that I could give you a bit of a glimpse of this creative exploration that sometimes I do. And I don't want to say that every time you sit down, you need to make like 1 million versions of something. Sometimes you sit down and you have a very clean idea of what you want to do, what your hero is, what your surrounding is, what your setting is, how the lighting should be, and you can just, implement it. I have done something like this in the past where I just knew what I wanted to do. For example, with this autumnus project of mine, I just did it literally in a day. This is one of the quickest projects I've done. It was after a walk with my children. I just wanted to create something like this. So I just sat down, I had a reference and created this more or less immediately. I didn't have any versions whatsoever. Of course, I always do more than one image as respect to my own time and effort invested. But this was it, it could be both. But sometimes you sit down and hey, you know what? Something like this would be cool. I don't know exactly what. And in this particular case, using Vantage is absolutely my advantage, right? Because, yeah, then I can do so much. And once again, let's say if I get different assets, it shouldn't be the buggy, but something else, I can tell a horror story within the limits of the setting that I have. Once again, like a theater stage. If you imagine a theater stage, it is not only one play that happens on this stage. There are different plays, but the stage stays the same, right? And this is what I wanted to create with this Antelope Canyon. I wanted to have my stage, and now that I have it, I can do with it whatever I please. I can change the colors, I can change the motive, I can change everything. But it's about the process, what I wanted to show to you today. And I hope I managed to give you some inspiration and some motivation to just sometimes start, especially if you have a tool like Vantage on your side, or Escape, or even, I don't know, something else, D5, Lumion. Just do, don't fear failure. You see, this is why I showed you all my failures. I don't like all the angles that I did, but some of them I really like, but I had to discover them first. And in order to discover them, I had to go through also some angles that weren't that great. And this is just the way it is. This is just a part of the process. Do you think that it is better to go V-Ray to Vantage or Corona to Vantage? I think that currently V-Ray to Vantage is the better choice because it just there are less limitations there, more materials from V-Ray are supported, like the UV randomization. But I also think that soon this will change for Corona with the newest version that I can imagine can come out quite soon. Okay, let's thank you, Theo, for this excellent Keeping It Realistic show. It indeed was a realistic show with the live demo. Loved it. Thank you very much. I really hope that this was useful to you and it was fun to you to go through all of these images and with me and to get some inspiration and to see that failure and trying out and not being sure what you even want to do in the end and just this creative search. It's also part of the project and it can really be a lot of fun as well. Okay, let me check. You have many comments. The 3S in project management, scope, schedule, and money. Yeah. This month, Chaos covered all three. Scope blew me away, and so did this. Yeah, this was really cool. Haha, in 13, I think, spill it, please. I'm not saying anything. You haven't heard anything from me, but I can imagine that quite soon we may be enjoying a new version. Anyway, folks, I think this should be enough for today. It wasn't as long as I expected it because, we also interact with each other. I thought it would be 2.5 or 3 hours or something like this because, yeah, I had two topics for you to talk about the AI and also about this. Maybe it was a bit too much, but for some reason I was inspired for both of these. So I decided to also talk with you about both of these. I hope it seems like you were still very active and very awake by the end and enjoyed it. So yeah, it was a pleasure. It was great. I don't think I answered all your questions or reacted to all of your comments, but yeah, I'll probably share some of the images as they are. I won't be doing any post-production or final renders. I'll just share them for you to just keep in mind, just a selection of some of the shots that I did throughout this session as a separate post, like the bathtub or the close-up of this bike, and then some of the different versions of this buggy, just so that people can see that with one and the same setting, one can do so much. And by the way, as a recommendation from my side, because I'm a lazy artist, and if I spend many hours creating, let's say, an exterior or an interior or something like this, I like to use it to the max. So once I create, let's say, an interior, I put some objects inside and take product shots. And when I create exteriors, I sometimes make automotive shots and just try to make the most out of what I've already spent time and effort and energy on. And I can really recommend it to you, but maybe just because I'm a lazy artist, as I tell you. And oh, Mariana, nice to hear from you. I didn't see you before, but I hope you enjoyed the session as well. Louis says, thank you kindly, Theo. You continue to amaze. I was transfixed. It's, thank you very much. I'm really glad to hear this. Thank you, Theo and Mom and Dad for joining in. Hope to see you next time as well. Running to make sure my Vantage sub is solid and envision to compare notes with Theo. Yeah, I mean, envision, I don't know, Louis, what exactly you're doing. Like if you do, let's say, more design work, if you're an active architect and you concept buildings, I think that going for Envision and Enscape could be the better choice for you, because if you don't use these, you need to then go, export your model over to Max and then use V-Ray in order to use Vantage, which is kind of a long way when you can shorten this with Enscape and Envision. If you are mostly on the creative side, like a digital content creator, creating visualizations for architects, designers, whatnot, I would recommend going with Vantage, because once again, its connection, the live link to V-Ray is already very, very good. The limitations are not that many. And I think with eventually some approaching new version of Corona sometime soon, I think that the Vantage the live link between Vantage and Corona will also be better, which, yeah, I really love it. As I told you, I'm a Corona fanboy and I always love using Corona. But this session, creating it in Vantage, was an absolute joy for me. And once again, I wouldn't have done it the way that I shown you if I didn't have Vantage. In Corona, I would have done interactive rendering. I would have done some final renders, but they would have, even in a small resolution, they would have still, you know, rendered for a long time because partially we had very, very strong depth of field, very strong blurring. This would have caused a noise. And I wanted to test out stuff. I wanted to be creative. And in this particular case, Vantage was the absolute right tool for me because it gave me the possibility to just be creative, to change stuff on the go. And, within the limit of a half an hour, I could try out very different lighting scenarios. And this is wonderful. But once again, it was not about Vantage, even though Vantage rocks. It was about the creative journey of a project like this. So yeah, folks, it was amazing. It was an amazing time with you, as it always is. I had a lot of fun and would really love if this was really inspiring and motivating to you. I'm wishing you a great June. Stay safe, be healthy, and I hope to see you again in 2 weeks at the usual place and time. And until then, please make sure to rock on and keep it real. Much love from me, and goodbye, my friends. If you have more comments, I'll make sure to read them after the live session ends. Goodbye.